Hello, everyone. Are there still a lot of people coming in, or are we almost full?
Okay.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Ik zal misschien even recht staan. Kan heel even zo. Good morning, everyone. We're gonna do a Q&A with Dries because there won't be any slides. We don't have any graphical material, so you'll have to look at us for the next hour. So I'll start with a simple question, Dries.
All right.
I know
Good morning, everybody. Goedemorgen. Goedemorgen.
You live in the US now most of the time?
I do, yeah. I moved to the US, I think, 13 years ago.
Okay.
But I keep coming back and forth a lot.
So I wonder if it has changed your taste in sauce for your fries.
No. And actually, this is a funny thing, actually, because I will buy mayonnaise in Belgium and bring it to the US. Because you can actually find good Belgian mayonnaise in the US. So, yeah.
Okay, I have another food-related question, and then we'll do other things. And that's a question that was sent in by Eli. And that's, we have Umami, the demo team for Drupal. There's a lot of recipes there. There's currently no videos on the platform. Do you think it's a good idea for you to make like a cooking instruction video of you doing one of the recipes?
Oh man, I can cook very much, but I'm happy to be a good team player and try, okay? I could take photos of food, but making the food, I can do a little bit.
Okay.
Depends on the recipe, maybe.
We'll have to figure something out. Okay. So I have a question about Drupal CMS. It's a little bit more serious. Yeah. So it's been going really fast, the development of Drupal CMS. And like the 1.0 version actually made the target you set out. I think that's super impressive. I wonder, like the pace that we are going now, how sustainable do you think that is?
Well, it's a great question. So I think, so a lot of people have been working really hard, and I don't know if it's sustainable for those people to keep working that hard for that long. And I think about all of the different groups, including in front of me here are some experience builder people. I'm looking them in the eyes, if you will, and like they've been working really, really hard, and I don't think that's sustainable for them. However, that doesn't mean we can't keep up the pace. You know, I think one of the things that we can do is we can try and get more and more and more people involved so that those individuals here on the front row can maybe slow down a little bit at some point, but we can still keep up the pace. And I think we can do that by getting more people in the community enabled and activated. I also think the use of AI in the right way, in the right places, can also help us accelerate the pace of development. So I do think we can go faster still. But, you know, we also have to think about people's work-life balance.
Yeah, we don't want to push women to a burnout, no. Okay, good. Like, are there any big lessons that we learned in how we got that velocity?
I mean, first of all, we learned that we can do amazing things if we work together. and we can go very fast, you know. So I think we learned a lot of very positive lessons. Like we can be opinionated, we can have a strategy, we can activate people to collaborate and go fast. But maybe we're asking more like things we would do differently, I don't know, or just in general. In general, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's definitely things we would do differently too.
Okay, what are those?
Well, if I think about sort of like when I announced Starshot, I think it was now a year ago or so. I mean, we didn't have much in place, you know. We had like a vision, but we didn't have a strategy, we didn't have a team, we didn't have a plan. And so for the first months, it was pretty chaotic. And actually, I remember walking on stage and giving my Dries note in Portland, and I was a bit nervous because I didn't know if people were going to be excited about it. I really didn't. And some of you might remember I invited the audience to pledge to get involved. Even in the middle of the keynote or towards the end, I guess, I asked, talk to your neighbors. And, you know, talk a little bit about what you think of this and how you might get involved. And then come to the mic and ask some questions or pledge how you will get involved. And I was like, I don't know if people are going to do this. You know, I don't know if people are going to come to the mic and say, I'm going to help. And then so many people did that I had to cut it off, which was incredible. It was really, really cool. But it also caused sort of this tsunami of people and organizations willing to help, and we weren't quite prepared for it. So I think one of the lessons learned is maybe we should have done a little bit more planning and preparation in advance so that we could enable more people to help you know, easier and quicker.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people that pledged to help. Did that influence the roadmap of what things were going to be in Drupal CMS or are planned for the next versions?
I would say so. Like we have been, you know, both kind of top down where we said, here's what we think we need to do. And we did this through research, talking to end users and marketers, but we also created this system where we invited track leads to contribute to the initiative. And so the track leads then could you know, make a lot of decisions on their own as well. So there was both sort of influence from the community as well as sort of direction from the core Drupal CMS leadership team. So yeah, I think it was kind of a good mix that way, yeah.
Okay, cool. So we think that Drupal CMS is a good way to get new people into the community. I think that as well. I wonder, like, how do agencies work with the new reality of Drupal CMS? Will they use this, or is this a different target audience?
No, like if you look at the strategy document, we do specify agencies as being a target audience for us. And the way we've been focused on the agencies, I would say, is probably kind of like from beginning to end, in the sense that our goal with Drupal CMS is to help them, you know, provide them a version of Drupal that sells easier, that they can show off, that they can use to encourage end users to adopt the Drupal that looks maybe a little bit less daunting in a way. But then also the concept of experience builder is definitely one of the top, you know, items that agencies have been asking for. I've done a few sessions with the help of the Drupal Association with the certified Drupal partners. So basically our top makers, they're all agencies, or most of them are agencies. And I talk to them, I have meetings with them, and they tell me that Experience Builder is what they and their customers ask for the most. They're also pretty excited about recipes, and I think that's also very helpful for them because, and I'm sure all of you know what recipes are by now, but essentially it allows them to take their best practices as an organization and make them repeatable, right? So you can use the recipes that come with Drupal CMS, great, but you can also, as an agency, create a set of your own recipes that basically turn what you do for your customers into kind of a repeatable playbook, if you will. And that helps agencies because they can deliver projects faster and potentially cheaper, which makes them more competitive.
Yeah.
So it really, from marketing to sales to efficiency to, yeah, like we've kept the agencies in mind.
Okay. So one of the things that is a challenge with recipes today is how you build them. Because right now you have to write a bunch of YAML,
Yeah.
which is not the most fun thing to do.
Yeah.
Is there like a UI planned for this?
I'm not aware of a UI. However, there's been experiments with using AI to create recipes.
Okay.
I think Jamie and Freely Give at some point have played around with this. Maybe others have as well. I'm not aware. Is anyone aware of a UI for creating recipes? No?
Because if you want agencies to build their own recipes and share them, then it should be relatively easy to build them.
Yeah. I mean, sharing them is easy, I think. But
That's
building
true.
them is a little bit harder, maybe through a YAML file. So yeah, it's a good. I actually never thought about that.
Okay.
So you might be able to make it easier for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are options to do it, I hope. Okay.
And I actually have never built one myself, in full transparency. So yeah, I can see that it may be not the most intuitive thing to do.
Not that I've tried a couple of times and I got it to work, so
Yeah.
it should be doable for most people,
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah,
based
okay.
on that experience. Okay, cool. Do you want to talk a bit about Experience Builder?
Sure.
Okay. So Experience Builder has a strong focus on front-end frameworks, mainly React, I think, right now. This has a big possibility of improved interactiveness and reactiveness of the application. I think that's really cool. I wonder, like, if there's a difference in perceived performance because we are sending a lot more JavaScript over the wire and stuff like this. Like, how do we?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so it is built in React, basically.
Yeah.
So it's a React application, which is a little bit new to us in the community. So I mean, the way React works is like you have to download a bunch of things, but once it's downloaded, and then it goes quicker. And I think you see that in the demos even of Experience Builder, like you can do a lot of things, and it's very, snappy and quick, and even like you can make multiple edits and then undo, and like there's not a lot of page reloading happening, if any at all, as far as I could tell. So it might be a slightly bigger download, but then you get a more application-like behavior, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe also, it's important to note that we use React in the backend, right? So it's the content creators and the page builders and the marketers that actually are using React. But Experience Builder itself still generates twig files and HTML and CSS, so it doesn't impact right now the experience of the website visitors, right? So if it is a little bit slower because of that initial download, it's only impacting the content creators.
Well,
it's not necessarily impacting.
Sorta. You can use Experience Builder to create a component,
Right.
and that's
Yes.
a React component.
Yes.
So
that's
when
true.
you render that,
Yes.
it has to send React to the visitors
Yes.
as well.
But yes, that's true, and that's a new feature actually. Yeah. But it doesn't have to be.
No.
Right. So you can choose, which way you want to go. Yeah.
Okay. Will there be support for creating those components with Vue.js or something else as well? Or do we stick with one thing and try to get that a little bit?
It's probably more of a question for the Experience Builder team, to be honest.
Okay.
But I
the
think
answer is
it's,
yes.
it's like this old debate, do we want to support everything under the sun, or is there value in being focused on one thing, And I think right now, personally, I would consider focusing on React just to keep things simple.
Okay.
But I'm sure somebody will
Yeah.
bring other frameworks to the table.
I could see Balint nodding that it's going to be supported, so that's good.
Yeah.
So we're at a European event,
Yeah.
which means that we all have to think about multilingual things. I think that's really important for us in this market.
Oui.
So I think that was a bit of a problem when Layout Builder launched, because there was no dedicated path on how to do asynchronous translations or synchronous translations or these kind of difficult problems. Is that a problem that we want to solve in Experience Builder, like from the start?
Yeah, it's a must solve, right? We haven't, it's not translatable right now, but I know from talking to the team that as we developed sort of the foundations of Experience Builder, like the data model and those kinds of things, we kept multilingual in mind.
That's great.
So it's something that we want to add after the initial launch of Experience Builder, hopefully DrupalCon Vienna. And then after that, we can focus on adding multilingual capabilities. But hopefully, we've made the right kind of design choices along the way, so that we don't have to basically go all the way back to the drawing board.
That would be great.
Which I know they've been thinking about. So.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
But maybe an opportunity for people to start thinking about here,
Yeah, we have a really big contribution area just outside here. So if you want to think about this, I'm sure other people will enjoy the challenge as well. So one thing about this events as well is we often say, come for the code, stay for the community, or different kind of slogans to that effect. I wonder, for people that find Drupal through Experience Builder or through the new fancy things that we're building, like the sessions at this event are mostly still about PHP and Drupal with PHP. Like, how do we ensure that our events look welcoming to people that come here for the React part of it?
Yeah. I mean, I think we'll have to just make sure there is the right content for them, I mean, the fact is we're adding React to Drupal, and we're going to bundle Experience Builder in Drupal CMS, so there's going to be a React component to our technology stack. So now we need to make sure we have the spaces for these, React-oriented front-end developers to join us. Yeah, so I think it's creating the sessions, it's those kinds of things.
Yeah, JavaScript Developer Days.
Yes. Yeah, that could be a good idea.
Not me. Someone else can volunteer for that one.
But I would say, like, everything that we've done in Drupal CMS has really been about growing. It's about attracting more people and organizations to Drupal, making it easier so we can reach, not only new technical audiences with maybe React, but also new end user audiences. So it's all about growing. It's all about welcoming new people and new organization in our community. So hopefully, as we get further along, that starts to be reflected in the events, like we should have sessions for React developers, but we should also have sessions for content people and marketers and like all these kinds of things. So I think it will be really good if we continue to sort of diversify the events. And that doesn't mean we can have developer-focused events like this, of course, but I think in general, hopefully we'll get more and more people to be excited and passionate about Drupal. So,
okay. Yeah. I hope that will make that work.
Yeah,
I think that's
our goal. So.
Yeah. Okay. I'm actually going really quickly through the questions I've prepared, but we will see how it goes. I want to talk about the marketplace thing a bit as well, because I think that's really important. But maybe, I'm not sure if everyone here has seen Dries' presentation from Atlanta. Maybe some people haven't yet.
No one.
No one has seen it.
Who has? All right, well, quite a few. Okay,
so everybody. Quite a few haven't seen it yet. Maybe you can give some cliff notes on.
Sure, yeah. So anyway, go watch the session if you want. Because there's actually, I spent a good amount of time on this, and more time than I can spend now, probably. Although that's up to you. But so with Drupal CMS 1.0, we introduced the concept of recipes, right? And recipes basically bundle modules and configuration. And I'm simplifying here, but we're bundling modules and configuration into this repeatable playbook. DrupalCon Atlanta, just a month ago, we also announced the concept of site templates. And it's a new concept, and they were basically bundling recipes along with a theme, an experience builder theme, look and feel, with relevant default content. All right, so basically the experience that people will have when they install Drupal, they can say, I want this kind of website, and out of the box we install all the right recipes, meaning all the right modules. We configure it out of the box to actually do, fulfill a use case. Could be, an event website. It could, like, basically distributions. But, implemented differently is one way to think about it. So that we are committed to delivering. So we're working on that right now. This notion of site templates as an extension of recipes. Now, from there, we talked about the marketplace, right? Because maybe in Drupal CMS 2.0, our next major version of Drupal CMS, which we hope to launch in Vienna, together with Experience Builder 1.0, hopefully we'll have a few of the site templates available. So imagine now installing Drupal CMS 2.0, and we give you, 2 or 3 or 4 choices about what kind of site you want to build. And that is going to lower the barrier to adoption for people. Because even with recipes, recipes help a lot, help you go faster, but you still need to build a look and feel, as an example, right? And the lack of a theme marketplace in Drupal has always been one of the biggest barriers to adoption and growth. And so site templates are designed to make it radically easier, above and beyond recipes, to get started with Drupal, because we'll enable a bunch of recipes and a look and feel, and we can even add relevant content. So imagine you want to launch a real estate website or something. We add all of the recipes that you need. Maybe you want the SEO recipe because we're trying to promote, you're trying to promote listings to properties. We can give you a default look and feel that's about real estate, and instead of cat pictures or lorem ipsum, we can actually show you some photos of houses and rooms and all that kind of stuff. So that's, sorry, a long story about site templates.
That's great. We have the time.
Yeah. In order to win, we're not going to win with just 3 or 4 or 5 of these site templates. We need like hundreds of the most stunning, beautiful, most functional site templates. And in fact, if you look at some of our competitors, like Webflow, they have thousands of these site templates. Like just in the real estate category, they have 350 just for real estate websites. But then they have dozens and dozens of these categories. Same thing with Shopify. Shopify is probably the largest e-commerce platform in the world right now. And it's actually not the best e-commerce technology. It's not. The reason they're the #1 is because they have these site templates. And the experience starts in a marketplace where you say, this is the kind of website I want to build. And people, they shop, if you will, for these templates with their eyes. They can see, hey, this looks kind of what I want to do. And so the next step is we have recipes, we're introducing site templates, then the question is, do we want to have a marketplace where the community, all of you, all of us, will contribute hopefully hundreds or thousands of really, really compelling templates? And we feel pretty excited about that, but there is a number of big questions that we're currently evaluating. And probably the biggest question is, do we want to support commercial site templates? Like nobody has worried about open source site templates, right? But there's also a question like, do we want to support commercial site templates? And so I talked a lot about that. So maybe I should pause here and see where you want to take this.
Well, you answered all 4 questions that I had as follow-up.
But I can share a little bit more if you want.
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And, because we, like one of the things that we did a BOF, a super BOF, Bird of a Setter session, the day after my keynote. And I don't know, 75 people showed up or something, and people could ask any question. And there was a lot of great questions asked, but I will say at DrupalCon Atlanta, people were very positive about the idea of site templates, as well as the idea of a marketplace, as well as the idea of commercial site templates. And actually, at the very end of the session, we asked people to raise their hand and do 5 fingers, or do 1 finger if you thought this was the worst idea in the history of Drupal, and 5 if you think this is one of the best ideas in the history of Drupal. And most people were a 4 or a 5.
We can try that again here.
Well, let me actually say a couple more things. And I think some of the people here were in that BOF, actually. But the number one concern I heard at DrupalCon is, what will it do to sort of the ethical question? How does it impact contributors? That was a big topic, because And the scenario is this, where somebody makes a site template, a commercial site template, but a site template basically bundles in modules. And it may also bundle in a theme, and a theme could have assets that are non-GPL. Like, you can create images, etc., and you can technically license these differently. But the modules, by the way, will always be open source. We're not talking about changing the license of Drupal itself. But people were like, well, okay, if I bundle in web form, is it ethical? Is it okay if the template maker actually makes money, but it's using all of these open source modules that people have spent thousands of hours building, including Drupal core, by the way, right? And so people had that concern, and it's a valid concern. First of all, it's not illegal, but it could impact people in terms of like morale, or are they still incentivized to contribute?
There are already a lot of companies making a lot of money on open source things that we built in our free time. So I think that's not that different, but there's still
it is
a difference, I think.
So that was our argument too. It's like, well, it's already happening, like an organization wants to build a website, they go to a digital agency, they spend whatever, 20,000 euros with the digital agency. The digital agency uses all the open source codes, and most of them will not contribute to the individual module contributors, So people already do this. What's different is that now we're doing it on Drupal.org, and it's more in our faces. But it's not technically a new dynamic in our community. And I would also say that the flip side of that is that by having it on Drupal.org, we can actually start doing something, potentially. Like, we talked about the idea of doing a revenue share with the Drupal Association. So let's say you buy a commercial site template. Let's say you pay, 200 euros for it. Maybe the Drupal Association takes 60 euros. And that money can go into an innovation pool or something, and that money could then be used to fund some open source work, or to help certain modules to be updated or maintained, that kind of stuff. So in fact, by doing it on Drupal.org, there might be new ways that we can support module contributors.
I think an important part of that is to have accurate statistics of what module is used a lot and which are used a bit less. There's currently statistics on Drupal.org for each module, but I think that's part of update module, which is I have not enabled on any of the websites I work on.
We could talk about better telemetry in Drupal. That would be useful, potentially useful for a lot of things, including as a Drupal CMS leadership team, we ask ourselves, like, what recipes are people actually installing? What features are people actually using? We have the same questions often as the Drupal core committer team. Like, we have, which of the modules should we prioritize when we're doing things? Is there anything that could potentially be removed because nobody's using it, or almost no one is using it? So there's a general lack of sort of data,
Yes.
that makes it sometimes difficult to make good decisions. And so it's a bigger topic around, should we have telemetry, and what kind of stuff should we measure?
Yeah, I'm one of those people that always disables the checkbox, like send my data, but then again, as a maintainer, I want to know what people are using my module for, how they are using it.
Right.
So I think that's a bit
balancing act, for
yes.
sure, yeah.
I think that's one that we should look into as a community to get more data. I think that's important.
It could be very good, and obviously it should be opt-in or opt-out. So it's not like we don't want to force it on people.
Yeah.
But yeah, good data can help us make smarter decisions, can help us go faster, stay relevant, all of these things.
Yes. So if people have feedback on site
Marketplace?
templates and marketplace, like, where do they go?
Yeah, so basically we said, because it's a potentially controversial decision, we gave ourselves plenty of time to evaluate it. So we're not building it, we're not agreeing to build it, and we gave ourselves about 6 or 7 months, basically between DrupalCon Atlanta and DrupalCon Vienna, to get to a go-no decision. And so that allows a lot of people in the community, agencies, to give feedback. And so we have created sort of an engagement plan, I would call it. And actually, I think this morning we launched the first survey. And I don't know, I guess it's on Drupal.org. I haven't looked at it. I was in the car driving here, but I think you can all go to Drupal.org and there is a survey that you can fill out to give your first set of feedback. We're also going to do, Zoom meetings, I guess, as well as Slack meetings where people can join and give additional feedback as well. And we're going to do multiple rounds of this because we have a lot to explore. We need to explore the desirability. Do end users actually want it? We have to explore the feasibility, like how might we build it? We have to explore all these ethical questions. We have legal questions to explore. So there's a lot to explore, and we're going to do that in steps over the next, several months.
Okay. Sounds challenging, but fun.
Yeah. I mean, I think it could be a real game changer. So that's, honestly, so the Drupal CMS leadership team, after the launch of Drupal CMS 1.0, we, got together and we started thinking about what is the next big thing. Obviously, we think the next big thing is more AI as well as Experience Builder 1.0, right? That's what we're focused on, but what's coming after that? And it's out of these brainstorm sessions that we had that the idea of site templates in a marketplace emerged. And then separately, in the Drupal Association, our nonprofit, we have an innovation working group. And their task, it's a combination of Drupal Association staff and board members, and their task is to think about how could we innovate in Drupal, but also in a way that helps sustain the Drupal Association. So there's most often a revenue component to that. And independently, the innovation working group came also up with this idea of a marketplace. And so we immediately joined forces. And so we've been thinking and talking a little bit about this. I forgot what the question was now. So we've been exploring this, and we hope to get to a decision. But basically, I guess I remember now. What I was going to say was both the Drupal CMS leadership team and the Drupal Association independently felt like this could be our best, biggest next idea, after Experience Builder now, I would say. And so we're basically creating this innovation pipeline, We have Drupal CMS 1.0 with things like recipes and the first AI agents and, all these things. Then later this year, we'll have site templates. We will have Experience Builder, knock on wood. and then we're kind of, stacking the cards to have more site templates and marketplace, hopefully sometime in 2026.
Okay,
so
cool.
Think of it as like a funnel or pipeline, and we just want to keep that pipeline healthy and strong with big impact ideas.
Okay, cool. One of those things is AI, of course.
Yeah.
It's not a new idea anymore. I think it's already well integrated into Drupal CMS, and the demo that Jamie did at Atlanta was really, really amazing. I wonder, we have to take the plunge into AI, because if we don't, I think it will appear that we are not with the times. But there's also some skepticism around AI. How do we balance those things? Ensure, make the cost visible both monetarily and environmentally and those things.
Yeah, it's a complex topic. I don't know where to start, but maybe I'll start with your first statement,
okay.
Which is about staying relevant, right?
Yes.
I think that's where we started. So, it's very clear that AI is here to stay. I don't know if you know what the fastest growing company in Europe is right now. You know? It's a company called Lovable. Have you heard of Lovable? No? It's the fastest growing company in all of Europe. And they're 4 months old now. And they grew from 0 to 30 million euros in 2 months or something crazy. Guess what they do?
I'm assuming something with AI.
Yeah. Something with AI, but also something with websites. They basically allow you to generate a website using AI. So you just prompt, build me Airbnb, and it literally goes and builds it. Anyway, so these things are coming, and they're coming very fast. Now, whatever they generate is not as good as a Drupal site, you know? They don't have all of the powerful capabilities that we have. But my point is that AI will stay, and it will change all of our jobs. And it will change how people build, maintain, manage websites and content, all of these things. So we have to stay relevant. And the good news is we jumped on that early on, and we have a lead. Like, we're honestly ahead of our competitors with AI, which is incredible. Like, you know, we have, you know, this AI agent framework that people are talking about now. Like, we had that actually way back in Barcelona. It's not that long ago, but it was before others were really meaningfully talking about this. We had the right architecture, and today we have, I don't even know, but like we have 30 plus agents, and you know, they start doing incredible things. So we have to, one, maintain that advantage, and that means creating more AI agents. It also means making sure that we ship AI features regularly that are production ready, that our end users can adopt. But it also means we need to find our special sauce, or special strength in a world of AI, because the lovables of the world, they just generate a website and that's it, right? But one of the things that I believe is where we need to end up is like we need AI agents to coexist with humans. Meaning, I think we will have websites with dozens and dozens of agents that will just do things for us. And I think you'll give them business goals, like, you know, get me 300 people to come to my event. And AI agents will create the sign-up form and will create the content. They will use the model context protocol to integrate with other systems, like maybe your Google Analytics. They will learn which pages work in terms of driving and converting people to attend your conference. If it doesn't work, they'll iterate on the content. And like you basically will say, here's what I want to happen, and the AI agents will do a lot. Now, in that world, some of us will wake up in the morning, go to our laptops, and we'll see like, wow, we've got these 50 agents, and they made all of these changes. And you want to be able to audit the changes. You want to be able to roll back the changes you don't like. And it's going to be very complex, you know. And I think there's an opportunity for Drupal to have a very special role there, where you know, things like rollback capabilities, versioning capabilities of like configuration versioning, I mean, all of these things that we're already quite good at, I think we could even extend to make us even more relevant in a world of AI, especially in a world where the end users, they want to, you know, they may have complex requirements. They may want to, they need audit trails. They want to use local LLMs. They want to use all of these things. Because, anyway, so I think there is something there for us that we need to go after. And I think we have to be very thoughtful about it. Yeah, so, you know, we have to keep working on this, is basically my point. And at the same time, you know, yes, there is an impact in terms of sustainability and environmental impact on the world. And so we also need to architect all of this in a way that we can try and minimize our footprints, you know? Like local LLMs are pretty good. And they actually, it costs a lot of you know, resources to create the LLM, to train the models. But once you have the model, you can run a lot of these things on your laptops, which is, you know, relatively speaking, it's relatively efficient when it runs on a laptop, you know. You can run some of them on a Raspberry Pi. And so we need to have the right architecture and abstraction layers so that people can bring these local LLMs and like minimize, you know,
the impact.
Yeah, impact on the world, or, you know, data sovereignty, whatever your boundaries are, you know. We can show the world that we can lead in a good way, in a responsible way. But we can't ignore it, but we can show the world that we can be a leader in these things. We can be first, we can be best, and we can do it the right way, you know? And I think that's what we need to go after, yeah.
Yeah, sounds very important to me.
Yeah.
To have some visibility on the cost of what AI is, or on how we can improve that.
I would also say, and it's not what's happening right now, obviously, but like a lot of times when new things are being invented, they're inefficient, and over time they become more efficient. Now, I understand everybody's building bigger and bigger data centers, so it goes against what I just said. But I do think, you know, I maybe it's naive, but I do think over time technologies become more efficient.
Okay.
And also think about the savings that the technology can sometimes create. Like if you can build something, you know, in 5 minutes versus, you know, 5 days, there is also, you know, there's also savings there somewhere. It's just very hard to measure.
Yes,
you know?
and a difficult conversation to have, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's an important thing to talk about and to think about. We have 15 more minutes left. If there are any questions from the audience, then I will hand the mic up in a second. But I have one more quick question for you as like a lighter topic.
All right.
Like, is there a thing in Drupal core or contrib right now that doesn't get the attention it should be getting? Like recipes is one thing that was already happening for like 1.5 years or 2 years, I think, before it got into a quicker flow with Drupal CMS. Is there a thing like that happening today that we should pay more attention to?
That's a good question. Let me start with Drupal core. By the way, one fun fact is I read all of the core commits, and there's a way to do this. Because we use GitLab, you can actually subscribe to an RSS feed of all the commits. So if you want to see what's going into core, you can subscribe with an RSS reader, which is it's a great way, I think, to stay up to speed. You can also look at the change notices. But like, anyway, to answer the question, wow, was that me? Maybe.
I think it's
maybe it's maybe
in between the signal.
Okay, sorry. So I was gonna say, like, one thing that went in that I thought was interesting, and I haven't really heard people talk about it. Like we committed this thing. What's it called again? I'm gonna call it like hooks as classes or something. Is that what it's called? Yeah, yeah. Well, like I haven't heard many people talk about it, or like it went kind of in. But how many of you know about hooks as classes? All right, okay. A third of you at least, maybe more. But in Atlanta, I heard nobody mention it, so maybe I thought that's a good one. And at least now double of you know. All right, so check that out. I think that was a pretty interesting commit. I mean, I think in contrib maybe the was it EMC module? I think is pretty cool. And it's not that as new as, you know, I think most of you probably know EMC as well, but I feel like there's like untapped potential there to do more and more with it. So I don't know. That's my answer. Okay. EMC? Is it EMC or ECM? ECM, sorry. ECM, yeah. My bad. Yeah, ECM. I forgot what it stands for now, actually. And by the way, there is also the model context protocol module. It's in alpha, or it was in alpha a few weeks ago, but it's where a lot of the AI talk is right now, and you can actually use it with Drupal. So that's maybe something you want to try out. Sorry. Okay. Hey. And the policy API, of course. And actually, I'm not joking. It's like a great new feature that we have in Drupal, and not sure if we're using it to its fullest yet, but thank you, Christian, for being one of the main contributors for that. So.
Thanks. And we nearly didn't even get that one.
I know, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it came out of
kind of fell through, and then we got funding in the end, thanks to the people behind WordPress. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
A question I had was kind of in the same vein like the one we just had, but not necessarily what you think deserves more attention or more people working on it. But core is shifting to a more supportive role in light of Drupal CMS and some of the platforms that people at agencies are building. Do you have a personal top 3 of features that you would still really like to see in core, and not necessarily with one product in mind like Drupal CMS, but just in general?
Yeah.
Where do you feel like core could still improve a lot?
In core, yeah. It's actually, let's see. So we are actually, as I think about this question, so we have been doing a lot of work with the core committers on sort of defining the strategy for what's next for core. And it's in the issue queue. We haven't sort of announced it publicly yet, but if you're interested in it, you can find a work in progress in the Drupal.org issue queue. And it basically follows the same model and format as a Drupal CMS strategy document. And what we all agreed on as the core committers, including, we've had a few conversations with the subsystem maintainers as well, the core subsystem maintainers. And we all kind of agree that we want to focus Drupal core on enabling things like Drupal CMS. So it's kind of like a support role, like you said. And we have a long list of kind of capabilities that we think could belong in core to help make things like Drupal CMS happen. And I'm trying to remember, the things that we said in there, to be honest. I would have to go look at the document. But so for me personally, I would say I think there's a huge opportunity around documentation. I know that's not really a feature, but I'm committed to finding a way to make our documentation better, not just core, but also beyond core. There's a lot of outdated documentation on Drupal.org. Things people Google, they end up on Drupal.org, and they find these Drupal 7 pages versus Drupal 11 pages. So I think that's one that I'm personally passionate about. I also think that, I don't know how to say this nicely, but there's certain things in Drupal core that are just too hard. And using Twig templates is one for me, sometimes I want to get to some field in a entity thing and I have to do oh my God, dash underscore arrow this. I just want the date. And why do I have to go through this very complex syntax just to get a simple thing? So I think a lot of it for me is how do we improve the developer experience? Whether it's for front-end developers or back-end developers, and simplifying sometimes APIs, I think. So I'm not saying new features, but simplifying some of the things that we have so that they become more accessible. Even for experienced people, I think we can make it a lot easier sometimes. And then, obviously concepts like project browser, site templates, if they become foundational capabilities, I do think they would make sense to add them in core. Experience builder is a big question right now, should that be in core or not? So I don't know if that answers your question, Christian, sort of, maybe. Yeah.
I think that's sufficient.
Yeah.
I'm always from a more technical background and thinking about the really technical stuff like caching, access policy, API, etc. But yeah, I feel like this mic is haunted. I feel like core is becoming more and more complete over the years.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, the developer experience is sometimes lacking. So yeah, it's great that you acknowledge that so that we can still make improvements there.
Yeah, and I don't know.
I'm gonna stop touching this mic. It doesn't like me.
Yeah, I think making it easier, I think, is sometimes, can be very impactful. And it's not always the work that is the most exciting work, but I do think it's very impactful work. So.
Okay.
By the way, I want to just give a shout out to the Drupal core committers too, because I know in my last keynotes I've talked a lot about Drupal CMS, but a lot of continued work going into core, every day. there is commits. Almost every day there is change notices being published. So yeah. And without Drupal core, there is nothing, you know. And Drupal CMS is built on top of core. Sometimes people they are like confused and they think we forked or something Drupal core, but no, like we've built Drupal CMS on top of Drupal core in collaboration with the core committers. So just want that to be clear to everyone if it wasn't. I'm sure it's clear in this audience, but it's not always clear to everyone.
No. So as we mentioned Drupal CMS a couple times in like the last answer you gave, I have a question if you think that Drupal CMS was the best name for Drupal CMS, because I sometimes have to explain like, yeah, Drupal is already a CMS, but Drupal CMS is a product built on top of the CMS that's also already a CMS.
I know, yeah.
Like, do you have trouble explaining that, or do you get that question sometimes? Is that?
It's been okay, I would say. Like we actually did some research. You know, like we actually went and interviewed people, both Drupal people and people that were outside of the Drupal community, let's say, but had experience with CMSs, and we had multiple name ideas, and we tested them with real people, and out of those tests came Drupal CMS as the best name. I mean, I'm not saying it's a perfect name. There's definitely some challenges in as you highlighted, but I think in the long run, I think it will be a good name. You know, people liked a descriptive name, for example. I think we had names like Starshot. People are like, I don't know what that is. You know, and if you call it Drupal CMS, they're like, I know what that is. And so descriptive names won, for example. And the idea of like Drupal core is more like for developers. If you want like a blank canvas, we can call that Drupal core. And Drupal CMS is more like a product for a wider audience, including non-developers. We're calling that Drupal CMS. I think it actually all makes sense. I think we're just going through this, I guess, transition period where we're like, you know, we all have to get used to
calling
it.
it.
Yeah. But
like
I think
that.
in the long run it will be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah. And if not, we can always change the name, you know, like.
Okay. We have one more question, and I think we're ready for lunch. Hopefully the mic will.
Thanks. Yeah, hopefully the mic behaves. Thank you for answering all the questions. And I think that it's interesting talking about site templates because, you know, originally we just had themes, right? And now with Experience Builder, we have the ability to create and, I guess, distribute components. And now with site templates, you could bundle all that up into a template. So I wonder if, like, in 5 to 10 years, I suppose, where do you see themes going? Like, do you see us just having, because right now you go to Drupal.org and there's lots of themes, right? But do you see that maybe themes becoming something else? Do you think themes we might have some really solid base themes and everything is built on top of them? So yeah, I just wondered what your perspective on that is.
I honestly have no idea. I really don't. I think it's a great question, though. I don't know. Like, I think it's also new, even for me, you know, with Experience Builder and Experience Builder components. And we're working on adding support for design systems now to Experience Builder. It's something that I didn't actually show in DrupalCon Atlanta, even though the work is happening and, you know, it's actually going pretty well. So pretty fluid, I would say. And maybe it's more of a question for Laurie and some of the Experience Builder team, that the people working on it. They may have a more clear picture of it than me. But I think it's being molded right now, you know? So if you have strong thoughts and opinions, like I would say, get involved. So, yeah. Great question, though. I'm sorry. I don't know the answer. Yeah. That's great. Yeah.
Okay. I think we're ready for lunch.
All right.
So thank you very much for
you're
answering these questions.
Yeah. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you.